Yeah, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to have a slot in this impressive lineup that we have seen today already. I mean, what cool speakers we had today already. And I think we may not only contribute to this innovative character of this event, but also make Mr. Söder and Mr. Blume quite happy because they mentioned startups in pretty much every second or third sentence. So yeah, this unfortunately they are not here today, but yeah, they would have liked that. Because together with my colleagues at the Start 2 group and Medical Valley, we put together a really diverse and insightful group of founders. But before we come to the founders, let me tell you a little bit more about who I am. I'm Nico, as you've heard, director of the Venture Lab Healthcare. Many of you may have heard of Unternehmertum, this brand, the general startup incubator of the Technical University in Munich. The TUM Venture Labs are the deep tech incubator of the Unternehmertum. And we thereby cover 12 different labs from software AI over quantum semicon, over aerospace, over to legal tech, and one of them is also healthcare. And at the healthcare lab, we currently support almost 100 startups in the three domains of digital health, medtech, and biotech. And we provide them with, first of all, general educational services, but all tailored to healthcare. So different coachings, different workshops, for example, about topics like clinical trials, like reimbursement, go-to-market strategy for healthcare, something like that. Second is that we are offering also free office and lab space. And third, we provide them with a huge network. So network to clinics, to corporates, to startups, to insurers, and to investors. So yeah, that's the TUM Venture Labs. Having talked about investors already, we brought some of our investors from our network with us because else what kind of startup pitch would it be with investors? And I want to introduce them real quick. So first of all, we have with us today Christina Niedermeyer from Plug and Play. Let's give her a round of applause. Second, we have Selina Neumann from B2 Ventures. Great to have you. Third, we have Oliver Schoppe from Unternehmertum Venture Capital. And now I'm looking into the room. You're sitting here, perfect. And we're having Bettina Grotz from Bayern Capital. So now, I think maybe it's not only those four guys. Are there even more investors in the room? VCs, business angels, venture capital. So perfect, even four more. Great that you're here. So now as we got to know each other a little bit better, now we want to get to know the healthcare innovators. And as Sevim already said, we brought to you 8 startups from Bavaria, 8 healthcare related startups. They're having 3 minutes. I'm looking at the time. I'm going to get close to them if they overrun that time. And afterwards, our 3 VCs are going to have the opportunity to ask them 1 or 2 questions. But so let's dive right into it. Let's start with our first startup, Care, presented by Hamdi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. Today, I'm Hamdi Belhassen, CEO and co-founder of Care, and today we'll be speaking about Care, which is actually a foundation or frontier AI lab for health monitoring, not for LLMs, but basically for health monitoring, like most of the gentlemen who were talking before us, right? So what we have been able to achieve in the last few years, which is CoreAI today, it's a platform for ubiquitous health sensing. Essentially, it's a software layer that can integrate in any camera device and can extract health parameters from individuals directly from the face, right? And just to say a few words about how we were able to achieve that, it's basically we had to create our own data lab, right? And this data lab basically is goes from data gathering, collection data, creating the software to collect the data, and so on. We have probably one of the most unique and largest clinical data in the world. And we create our own proprietary foundational models for this, and we also certify our models. So just to give you a perspective of what we have been achieved is this. Today, the product is vital signs scanning through camera. It works seamlessly. It doesn't require any specific camera. It's very scalable, medically certified, a CE Class 2A medical device, and it works in 30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, you can extract your heart rate, respiration rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, and many other features ongoing, right? And I want you to think about there are more than 4 billion devices worldwide that has a camera, right? And I want you to think about the opportunity and the applications of this technology, where it can go. Today, we are focusing on the healthcare sector in general, but this goes into beyond that. It goes into consumer devices, like your smartphone will be monitoring your vital signs, your health every day. Your car will be doing that. Your laptop when you are working, right? It can sense if you have any health issues and so on. So that's all applications where this technology can go. But as I said, we are focusing on the healthcare sector. We are selling to healthcare or facilities and mainly to hospitals today. We integrated the technology into the hospital workflow, so into the patient management systems, and we have been able to help hospitals to reduce the cost by 83K per department, reduce the time of the nurses by 80% to measure vital signs, right? That's a lot of burden that is gone just by integrating a simple, unique, software into their workflow and remove any other devices from measuring the vital signs. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out. It happens that we are raising, so any investor who is here, please don't hesitate to reach out in my email. Thank you very much.
So, are there some questions from our VCs? Selina.
Okay, so maybe I kick it off. Thanks so much for your presentation. I think you mentioned several, let's say, use cases or monetization pathways. Which of them do you consider like the most pressing one? Where do you see like real willingness to pay and actual like monetization potential?
Yeah, actually, there are the strategic path and for the company, and also the important path in general, right? The strategic one is going to hospitals, and that's because we want to show that we can remove burden. But on the long run, you want also to not just remove burden, but open new doors, right? So we are going into consumer later on, into cars, into the automotive, but today the focus is hospitals and integrated into the workflow, meaning that we don't create a new app for them that they don't want to use an extra app, but basically, what are you using today? What's your software? It's going to be integrated into that software that they are already using, right? Into partnerships, basically. We do this with partnerships.
And have you also considered reimbursement codes? Is there a way to cooperate with like health insurances?
Considered, yes. Done, no. Maybe in the future, yes.
So maybe I can ask another question. I'm wondering how good is the accuracy of your measurement compared to traditional measurement methods in the clinic?
It's a class 2A medical device, so it's basically conformed to the standards that is international standards. So it's as good as a oximeter, as good as a ECG device to measure the vital signs, right? For the ones certified, right? And any other one that we are certifying as well, right?
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hamdi.
Thank you.
If there are more questions, all of the startups are going to be with the after-show cocktail as well, so let's ask them there. Our next startup is Elixion Medical and presented by Ludwig. Stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Ludwig. I'm co-founder and CEO of Elixion Medical here from Munich. And yeah, I'm really glad to be here today with all of you guys. So I think in some point of life, every one of us will rely on hospital care, right? Either ourselves or the ones we love. And we all expect that the people working there, nurses, have time to look over us when it matters most. But that expectation does not longer really matches reality, because you have such a big missing workforce in their healthcare system. It's collapsing under workload. In Europe alone, you have 4.1 million missing healthcare workers by 2030, and afterwards it's getting even worse. And at the same time, nurses spend 1/3 of their daily time for manual monitoring and documentation. Critical data are still captured by hand, as you see on the picture, and that's not sustainable. So hospitals urgently look for a way to deliver safe, continuous patient monitoring without continuous staffing. And that's exactly what Elixion's platform technology makes possible. Automated real-time patient monitoring without continuous staffing. And here how we do it. Our own and external IoT sensors at the bedside observe patients automatically. The data instantly flows to in a software where analysis and visualization and documentation is done in real time, and analytics and alerts are available instantly. Through our clinical API, everything is integrated into hospital clinical systems, what already exists. So we transform a completely manual process into a fully automated one with better clinical outcomes than before. Our first product, Niveo, automates one of the most painful routine tasks for nurses in hospital, monitoring of fluid, so everything which goes out and in of a patient. Right now, this is done by nurses by hand, often every hour. Niveo automates that 100%, continuously, automatically, and fully integrated into EMR. And everyone benefits. So nurses reduce approximately 1 hour per day and per bed manual monitoring tasks. The patients and the doctors get reliable data and better and earlier complication signals, and hospital management gets higher efficiency and lower cost. So everyone wins. And the market adoption is really high. So we just entered the market in DACH 6 months ago with our MDR certification, and ever since already got 1 million euros of revenue booked, got the first hospitals live and paying, and that's just the starting. Because we capture the data at the bedside, we own unique real-time data no one else has. And that's the foundation for actually what comes next. So with our AI model, we transform hospital care and fluid monitoring into predictive care. So we predict complications earlier before they get critical. And that's how we transform from a simple product into a platform solution. So hospitals everywhere need continuous patient monitoring, but they no longer have the staff to do it. And Elixion makes it possible that this continues. Yeah, I'm Ludwig. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ludwig. Questions?
Thank you for your pitch. Very insightful. How do you differentiate from competitors or even established players that are going into that direction?
Really good question, actually. So I think what our goal is really that we go into mass market, basically. So we claim ourselves as the only mass market potential device or solution. And we have approximately 4 to 40x cost advantage compared to the competitors and 80% compared to the manual process. And at the same time, we are not just this one application like the competitors, but we built the whole platform. So not just one fluid line monitoring, but all of them with the same device, with the same tech, without continuous R&D, basically.
Well, also, thank you so much for the pitch from my side. Just really to build up on that question. To me, your pitch sounded a little bit like that what you're replacing is not necessarily other sensors, but basically manual processes. So maybe you can comment on a little bit why other players have not been able to establish a good sensor the way you presented today in the past, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
Really good question, actually, which is quite a common question also. So I think it combines actually two things. So on the one hand side, the infrastructure at the hospital side was not available for stuff like that like 5 years ago, right? So there was no Wi-Fi everywhere. We heard that today several times. There was no PDMS system and electronic health record in every hospital, especially in Europe. So we are still working on that, let's say. And on the other hand side, from the tech side, so we have our own patent technology, which actually makes it possible to make the measurement for really low cost and with low running costs also. And that's our edge.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Ludwig.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Magdalena from ProviGenAI. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hi everyone, I'm Magdalena. I have been working in a lab for a few years now, but there was one thing that kind of bugged me. I was researching base editing strategies for neurodegenerative diseases, but every time I had a new hypothesis I wanted to test, I would design a few experiments, I would then analyze the data, see if the hypothesis was validated or not, and then basically threw the data away. So basically what I did, you can see on the left hand. So I decided many conditions up front, then I ran all of the experiments and then took what I needed from it. What we propose is that each result directly informs the next condition and no data is ever lost. So you don't test just one hypothesis, but you test the hundreds and thousands hypotheses that come after it. This is ProviGenAI, an AI control layer for automated labs. We integrate all kinds of data, be it very early device logs, process outcome data, or even downstream mouse data that comes weeks or months after the experiment was run. We then execute the next best experiment on the hardware platform and select what the next condition should be. We validate this in industry in an assay optimization case. With the standard process, which I described, they took 5 months. We did it in 3 weeks by cutting down experiments and not running unnecessary conditions, which were already tested beforehand. And we also, again, did it with less experiments. From 200, we cut it down to 40, and we saved tens of thousands of cost. We want to make biology limitless because the next frontier of biology won't be won by the labs that run the most experiments, but by the ones that run the smartest ones. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. She did it in even 2 minutes, not needing 3. Not too bad. Oliver.
Then I'll squeeze in a very nerdy question at the beginning. I hope that's okay.
Yeah,
Your first slide screams to me, and I come from AI research, gradient descent. So if you go around optimization of parameters, I mean, like technically speaking, you kind of need to build a loss function around it. You need to have some thesis around, hey, in which direction do I move? How do you build it up, and what kind of, let's say, data domain are you doing this?
Yeah, so we combine Bayesian optimization with deep learning. So we kind of have model weights built in that are also from every collected from every deployment, and that's kind of the base where we start out. We then
On what kind of data do you train, and how do you generalize across settings?
So we have process outcome data, not biological IP data, which we collect from the devices. So we connect to all of the hardware devices and collect the process outcome data, how the robots integrate with each other, etc. And that's kind of the data layer that we work across.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Could you elaborate a bit more on how it's like specifically integrated into current workflows in the lab? So is there still a human involved then in the, let's say, decision making?
So right now we assist. So we recommend the next best experiment. We can also run it if the lab is fully automated, which in most cases isn't the case right now. But we're building towards really being the brain and controlling the whole lab. But right now we assist.
Okay, perfect.
Good. If there's no more questions, thank you again, Magdalena. And our next startup is MedMatic, presented by Constantin. Stage is yours.
Yeah, so our product is called Medicoda, so not to be confused. Yeah, as you can see, the financial situation of most German hospitals is pretty bad. And yeah, the process that actually gets the money looks like this. So medical coders basically spend all day sifting through patient records to find all justifiable diagnosis, to correct documentation flaws, to find the best code combinations for optimal revenue, and then argue back and forth with insurances in reimbursement disputes. And this is already quite tedious and manual, but the problem is that every year more and more and more complexity is added to this process. Complexity specifically designed to cut healthcare costs in the inpatient sector, so their revenue. Yeah, and hospitals basically have to do more and more work while not being able to find or afford many more medical coders. And being understaffed in this area is deadly because it leads to missed revenue, more payer denials, and massive liquidity problems. So yeah, AI efficiency gains are desperately needed in this area, and that's where our software comes in. So we automatically read the entire patient record, automatically find all the best diagnosis and procedure codes, point out revenue potentials, but also documentation flaws that might lead to denials. And we continuously monitor the justifiability of a patient's continued stay in the hospital. And yeah, hospitals trust us to combat the ever-increasing workload and complexity. That's why we are already live in multiple public, private, and church-affiliated hospitals, with many more signed up waiting for integration. Yeah, my co-founder and we are basically the perfect team to tackle this. I previously built 2 successful medical startups already, and he's a medical doctor and a computer scientist who's seen many clinics from the inside and also led cancer research projects at LMU Clinic.
Thank you very much, Constantin. Also really good in time. Let's hear the questions from our jury.
Well, thanks so much for this. There's quite a few players out there, some of them even more advanced, that tackle similar problems. For instance, I don't know, Tandem Health, and I'm sure you know all of them.
Yes.
How do you feel about the competition, the market, and how do you want to differentiate?
So there are a lot of medical scribes out there, a lot. New ones popping out every day, like Tandem, but they can only basically turn what the doctor says into codes, but it's only a tiny fraction of what actually needs to be coded. So yeah, maybe let's say 10-20% of what actually needs to be coded. So I don't really see them.
So it's basically complexity around the coding aspect after documentation in that sense, right?
And also a lot of documentation that needs to be taken into account doesn't come from the doctor talking to an app. It's like, it's lab results, it's pathology, it's nurses typing stuff, and it's external doctors. It's so much. Yeah, so they are not really competition. Competition are legacy players who use keyword-based basically detection and then trigger like static rules, basically. That there are some established players. Yeah.
Cool, thanks a lot.
Maybe looking ahead, what are some of your milestones that you're looking at, and how do you want to achieve them? What are you looking for? What do you need?
We just continue our growth journey. We don't have any like particular things that we need to hit. I mean, just like increasing our customer base. Yeah, that's and if there are any like hospital managers, decision makers here, like more customers is always welcome, but that's basically the only thing we're looking for. Yeah.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Constantin. Our next startup is CureVision, presented by Luca.
Thank you so much. In the next 3 minutes, of my pitch, 6 patients will permanently lose a body part because of an amputation, because of a chronic wound. I'm Luca, and at CureVision we are solving one of the biggest challenges for our healthcare challenges for our society. This is why the Techniker Krankenkasse called us one of the best startups in the healthcare industry. One in four families has a family member with a chronic wound, like a diabetic foot wound or a pressure ulcer. These wounds take on average 12 months to heal and create 30 billion in healthcare cost. The biggest challenge with chronic wounds is that doctors and nurses use their bare eyes to decide about the therapy. They use point-and-shoot cameras and paper rulers like the one you see in this picture. But if 2 doctors measure the same wound, the difference can be up to 75%. And this method gives them zero information about the tissue composition, the infections in the wound, and they don't even know how deep the wound is. And that has catastrophic consequences. CureVision is the solution for the digital age. We turn guesswork into science. We take exact measurements and identify bacteria in real time. Plus, we cut the time it takes for an assessment from 20 minutes all the way down to only 2 minutes. We achieve this with our 3D scanner, which has all the sensors and light we need and is easy to use in every environment. Our algorithms run directly on the system, and our AI is trained with over 800,000 data points. We work with a SaaS model, so our customers pay a monthly license fee and the yearly contract renews automatically. Our customers are hospitals, care providers, and wound centers like the one Mr. Geisel works at. And these customers are enthusiastic. In statements with healthcare magazines, they stated they are now 10 times faster thanks to CureVision, or that CureVision will be the future of wound care. Now we are gaining momentum and more than tripled our revenue last year. We are now gearing up for the US market with our upcoming Series A round. So if you share our vision, talk to me today, because together we can change the life of millions of patients and their families. Thank you.
Perfect. So he hit exactly 3 minutes. Perfect. Let's hear the questions. Selina.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So could you elaborate a bit more about the current, let's say, gold standard? So how is it measured today? Is it still done completely manually? And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's still completely manual. It's they put like this paper ruler next to the wound and guess how wide and how the depth and the length. Yes, they don't change the position of the ruler. It's just like a measurement for with your eyes. Yes.
Thank you.
So if I got it right, your product consists of hardware and software. Do you develop both by yourself or every
Yes, we develop the hardware.
In your team, or do you outsource some of it?
We develop the hardware and software in-house. We outsource the building of the product itself. Yeah, like the one you see here. Yes.
Thanks.
Maybe one more question on the hardware. How much of, let's say, the value added you can provide comes from the hardware itself? So what kind of measurement do you need to perform via hardware? I would assume kind of like the computer vision problem per se around sizing it and describing it is probably fairly straightforward. But I mean, like if you, for instance, just do it with a smartphone, I would assume you cannot capture the right data. So can you comment on that?
You can take pictures with the smartphone, but sometimes you need like a reference point because the smartphone doesn't know how far away it is, the length, the depth, everything. So Yeah,
It's basically an RGB camera, but you measure like the depth for appropriate.
Yeah, it's a
sizing
3D
and everything.
camera, yes.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, one after another. The next one is SoreAlert, presented by Lorenz.
Yeah, hi. We've just heard about wound treatment, but what if we could avoid wounds? So we're developing a system to avoid wounds and to take the job of Luca. I'm Lorenz from SoreAlert, and we want to personalize wound prevention. Imagine Petra. She's a nurse in a care facility. She starts her night shift. That means she needs to take care of 40 patients, 10 of them with a high risk for wound development. That means all of these 10, she must check every 2 hours if the wound risk increases. Every check costs about 10 minutes time, plus 5 minutes documentation. The consequence is that she's running from one room to another the whole night. Despite this, we see Erwin in room 2, who has developed a severe pressure ulcer. For him, it's a nightmare that could end deadly. This happens in over 20,000 facilities in Germany every night. The consequence is that we see over 400,000 wounds every year, leading to long treatment cycles, and this, of course, correlated with high costs of about 2.5 billion euros every year. And this, if you have imagine that 95% of these wounds could be prevented with the right prophylaxis. The question is how? A pressure ulcer can occur in few hours, and Petra cannot monitor all the patients at the same time. That's why we have developed a smart patch that can continuously monitor the tissue of a patient and detect the wound development over 1 hour before you can actually see it. This allows us to give an alert to a smartphone app or the nursing computer that the patient needs a check. But in between, the patient can still sleep. What we are addressing are, for the first, stationary care facilities who have to care about a lot of patients at the same time. We plan a direct sales model with them. And if we only access a few % of the risk patients, we already open big markets of about 60 million in Germany. And then we can, of course, also sell it in other European countries or the US. How we do that? We have a strong team with an engineering research background, medical technology background, regulatory, and also have advisors, especially in the medical and business field. And we're planning our next financing route in fall, because we need to get the money for our CE certification, which is planned next year. So if you want to join us, please come to me and let's shape the future of wound prevention. Thank you.
Another great pitch. Thank you very much, Lorenz. Bettina.
Thanks a lot. It was a great pitch. I'm wondering how long can your patch stay on a patient, and can you reuse it, or is it a throwaway article?
So we've seen these different parts. So the electronics is a reusable that you can use for a whole year and that we will sell via a leasing model. And the patches are disposables that you will wear for 3 days and then you exchange it and throw it away.
Thank you.
Another question?
Maybe just because I didn't understand it right. So what is the trigger point on, like, when do you actually use it? Because I understand, like, the focus is prevention. So what's the, like, point in time when you say, okay, now you're using that patch?
So if someone comes to care facility or intensive care station or somewhere, they are always checked for their health status, like as initial assessment. And then if you see, if you analyze a high risk for wound development, then they get special prevention measures anyway. And that's why we come in and say at a certain risk stage, you would use our patch.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. If there is no more questions, Thank you.
Thank you.
We're almost done. Not yet. Next startup is SelphSpace, presented by Nina. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Nina. I'm from SelphSpace. SelphSpace is a digital therapy companion for psychotherapy. We make the development in therapy visible because the mind isn't easy to X-ray as, for example, a broken bone. What is the problem? 2/3 of patients experience a relapse within 2 years after their clinical stay. That is a huge number of patients suffering, as well as a lot of costs for the healthcare system. And why do the patients relapse? Patients fall back into old like systems, strategics, their old habits. Also, they forget helpful tools. And this is just to mention some of the measurements that are happening there. And this is a really like a complex field. A lot of different areas are there, and that's why we bring data into psychotherapy to deepen insights and for lasting results. So, excuse me. We bring data into psychotherapy for deeper insights and lasting results. And how are we doing this? We are continuously monitoring patients' data, and through that we can provide a better, oh sorry, I have a little bit blackout. We generate richer insights, enhance therapy quality, and help to prevent relapses. And at the same time, the clinicians benefit from increasing capacity and significant less time spent on anamnesis or diagnostic, for example. At the moment, we already have a beta version where there is an AI summary, included also diagnostical recommendations for the therapists, and it's been tested. And several studies show that the approach of a blended care treatment is better than only psychotherapy. And this is what we are focusing on. We are already in several clinics helping our customers, and together with them we are redefining analog and digital ways to work in psychotherapy. So thank you very much for listening, and let's shape the future of psychotherapy together.
Thank you very much, Nina. Are there any questions? Christina.
Thank you so much. Very important topic, definitely. Can you describe in more detail the patient journey? So I understand it's once they come out of like an on-site stay and it's like a monitoring, coaching platform. How do you collect the data? Is it like a questionnaire, or what's the way of like getting the data and then also supporting the patients?
Yes, so there are several questionnaires that you can type in on your phone, for example, in your stay, in your clinical stay, or at home, and you can see your progress.
Thank you.
Can you already give us some insights on your usage data? So do you already have some churn, or is it used over like how many months and how many, let's say, like what are the daily usage rates?
Yes, so we have like several projects that are ongoing, and it depends on like the length of how long a patient is using it. Normally it is in Tageskliniken und Ambulanzen. So the patients are coming in like in different time frames when they need it, and they hopefully come earlier, so there is not this big relapse.
Okay. Is there any more questions? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very
again,
much.
Nina. And last but not least, it's a Malek from. Sorry. From BoneScreen. Is that you first? So sorry.
Hi everyone, I'm Malek, CTO and co-founder of BoneScreen. So every day, millions of CT and MR scans are acquired worldwide. Hidden within these images are early signals for chronic diseases such as osteoporosis, metabolic conditions, and heart disease. At BoneScreen, our vision is to use routine radiology to detect patients earlier, connect them to healthcare, and ultimately build the operating system for prevention, but at scale. So chronic diseases are usually detected too late and treated too little. Let's take osteoporosis for an example. In patients aged between 65 and 90, roughly half of them have osteoporosis, yet only 8% get treatment. The problem is not the lack of data. The signals are already there in routine imaging. The problem is that currently healthcare lacks the pathways to convert those signals into action. So basically, our first product is called SpineQ. It's a CE-certified medical device that works on routine CT scans. SpineQ detects fractures and measures bone density, and thus enabling the earlier identifications of patients at risk for osteoporosis. However, diagnosis alone is not enough. That's why we're building RadQ, a patient management platform that accompanies patients throughout their journey, from detection to referral to healthcare, treatment initiation, and long-term monitoring and follow-up. Expanding on our current infrastructure that we already have, we plan to expand our platform to include more diseases, more biomarkers, such as those for metabolic conditions and heart disease. So SpineQ has been on the market for roughly 10 months now. And since then, we're deployed in over 40 sites, generating more than 13,000 euros of MRR so far. So far, we've scanned over 10,000 patients. We screened them. And in parallel, we're in talks with healthcare providers in Germany and Switzerland to develop care pathways for osteoporosis screening. So basically, what we're trying to do here is to become the radiology native platform for chronic disease screening. And to assist us in achieving that vision and accelerating it, we're currently raising around 2.5 million euros in order to expand our commercial operations and develop our platforms further. Thanks.
Thank you, Malek. Are there any questions?
Yeah, thanks so much. Love to see how you guys are developing. Can you comment on the business model a little bit? So I think you're mostly selling to probably large hospitals in that sense. So what works for you? What kind of contracts can you negotiate? And how do you kind of see the commercial business model evolving over time?
I think right now we have several pillars. Our customers right now in Germany are mostly like private clinics. So here we depend on Eagle model. However, like we understand that this model is not sustainable in the long term. So we're also working on use cases for hospitals. We're already in a few hospitals, but we need to develop a better, or we are currently working on developing our use case in order to show that we can actually not just improve their patient care, but also like save them costs and improving their insurance, let's say, billing. So that's one. But second, also like in the future, also connecting, we believe there is a lot of value in connecting the patients to care. And that would lead us to the end to like actually cooperating with insurances for reimbursement mostly.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Another question? If not, Thank you very much
Thank
again,
you.
Malek. Yeah. Those were our 8 startups. I hope you liked it. I hope it inspired you somehow. With that, I think we may have also made Mr. Söder a little bit proud and have shown him what the future of healthcare or what we are working on and the startups are working on. And yeah, thanks again.